Hi, I'm Eric. I'm an AI avatar and I'll be delivering your Traugott orientation today. My orientation video will introduce you to the Traugott HSC program and assist you with understanding the tools you'll need to ensure that you'll be leaving our worksite as healthy as you arrived. This video is intended to educate you and train you in the components of our safety program, as well as its policies and our expectations of you as contractors and employees. If at the end of this video you are unsure about any component of our HSC program, please take some time to meet with our safety rep or superintendent. They will be able to fill in the blanks for you. At every worksite, you'll find the Traugott Safety Manual, provincial legislation, and a trained safety rep who will be able to assist you. Please do not proceed with any task on our worksite without first understanding how to do it in compliance with legislation, our safety program, and the safety program of your employer. Remember, safety is everybody's responsibility. All new workers arriving at Traugott worksites must receive a site-specific orientation prior to commencing work. This orientation will detail the locations of safety and first aid-related items, such as muster points, air horns, fire extinguishers, the ERP, first aid kits, and the AED. You will also be familiarized with locations of first aid personnel and how to summon them. You will be shown the locations of washrooms, drinking water, and break areas. We will also include an overview of site-specific hazards and activities that you'll need to be aware of while working on that site. This will help you to develop a basic understanding of our worksite activities and how to work safely in concert with the operation. Additionally, all subcontractors and employees must provide proof of training prior to accessing the worksite. All workers must have workplace hazardous materials information system training at minimum. Those who will be operating powered mobile equipment, working in fall protection, confined spaces, or conducting activities that require training from an accredited institution will be required to present proof of current, valid training. All training tickets will be attached to the worker's file and stored. If proof of training has not been provided to us, you may not conduct work of this nature until training certificates have been provided and approval has been granted. If you are found conducting work of this nature without the appropriate training, you will be subject to strict disciplinary action. Sign-in procedures. Workers must sign in and out every day. However, on larger worksites, we may decide that it is more efficient for your supervisor to provide us with a count. In either case, it is important that we have an accurate count of workers on site. Our sign-in sheets are accessible to everyone by scanning a QR code. If for some reason you do not have this capability, talk to your supervisor to ensure you are being accounted for. You'll notice the sign-in sheet will have a fit-for-duty checkbox as well as a yes-no section that will ask you if you've been involved in any incidents today. The fit-for-duty checkbox confirms that you are fit for duty, and the incident checkbox confirms that all incidents have been reported. Fit for duty. Workers are expected to show up to work well rested. They should be in healthy working condition both physically and mentally and fully prepared to carry out their tasks for the day. Workers who are found to be in possession of or being under the influence of illicit drugs, narcotic medications, or alcohol will be removed from site immediately. Arriving for work not fit for duty can jeopardize your safety and the safety of others, so it is essential that you arrive fit for full duties and remain fit for the duration of your day. Incident reporting. It is imperative that you immediately report all unsafe acts, conditions, incidents, and near misses to Traugott as soon as possible. If you witness or are involved in an incident or near miss, take steps to preserve the scene so an investigation can take place. In the event of a serious medical incident, provide first aid if you are trained to do so, and ensure that appropriate medical assistance is on the way. Remember, even small cuts that are left untreated can become infected and lead to serious complications. Our first aid staff will be happy to provide antiseptic and a Band-Aid. Remember, if incidents go unreported, we are unable to address them properly. An unsafe condition that is left unaddressed can lead to further injury. Incidents such as bullying or violence, sexual harassment, property damage, and environmental spills must also be immediately reported to Traugott. Personal protective equipment. On all Traugott worksites, you are required to wear a hard hat, steel-toe boots, and a high-visibility vest at all times. At a minimum, full-length pants and a t-shirt are also required. Things like gloves and glasses are required on an as-needed basis. Remember, if your employer's policy requires that you wear gloves and glasses at all times, you must continue with that policy. Check with your supervisor if you're unsure. Hearing protection must be worn by workers who are exposed to noise in excess of the guidelines of your local OH&S legislation. As a general rule of thumb, if you need to raise your voice to speak to someone next to you, you should have hearing protection on. Hearing protection is available in our site office if you need it. Respiratory protection must be worn whenever workers are exposed to chemicals, particulates, or otherwise hazardous atmospheres. The proper selection of respiratory protection must be done in accordance with your respiratory code of practice or company policy. You must be fit tested and clean-shaven prior to donning half-face or full-face RPE. It is essential that the correct piece of respiratory protective equipment be selected for the job. If you have any doubt regarding the selection of equipment, you must consult your supervisor prior to commencing work in hazardous atmospheres. Make sure that your PPE is in good repair. It must be inspected on a regular basis in accordance with the manufacturer's specifications or company policy. If you notice any issues with your PPE, you must immediately stop using it and report the issues to your supervisor. Remember, all PPE must be approved by the CSA. Working at heights is one of the most dangerous activities we do in construction. While on our work sites, fall protection must be worn whenever a worker is exposed to a fall that is over 10 feet. The only time that may change is unless client or contractor policy requires workers to tie off at heights less than 10 feet, or whenever a worker is exposed to an unusual hazard below, such as water, rebar, or other hazardous materials. All workers who don fall protection must first be trained in its use by an in-class training provider. Online training is not accepted. No worker is to don fall protection until they have signed onto a site-specific fall protection plan that has been built by their employer. Workers must also calculate fall distances prior to exposing themselves to a fall, and fall protection equipment must be formally inspected in the morning prior to each use. All fall protection-related safety violations will result in swift disciplinary action, and in most cases, your immediate removal from our work sites. Workers' rights. Safety is more than just policy. Under Canadian OHS law, you have the right to a safe and healthy workplace. You also have the right to refuse unsafe work, the right to know, and the right to participate. Not only do you have the right to refuse unsafe work, if you are given a task to complete that you feel is unsafe, we expect you to refuse. In the event of a work refusal, please meet with your supervisor to inspect the work area together. Review the task, and if necessary, one of our safety reps or superintendents can assist you with review. Together, we can find a way to conduct the work in a safe manner. Right now, we are exercising your right to know by going through this orientation. Later, you'll be able to exercise your right to participate by joining our Joint Health and Safety Committee and your employer's safety meetings. There you can bring forth your ideas and concerns, as well as joining us for site inspections. Remember, it is everyone's duty to participate in the safety process. Hazard assessments. Before commencing work, you are required to fill out a daily hazard assessment for the tasks you're planning to carry out that day. Hazard assessment forms should be provided to you by your employer, and a copy of these assessments must be forwarded to the Traugott safety rep or superintendent for our records. The hazard assessment must include a rundown of your tasks for the day, hazards associated with those tasks, and whatever controls you plan to put in place to control the hazards. This is a requirement and is conditional to your workday and must be completed prior to the commencement of work. The safety department and worksite supervisors will routinely check to ensure you have completed this assessment. Remember, if your tasks for the day change, your hazard assessment must be updated to reflect those changes. If you are working in proximity to other trades on site, it is best practice to share hazard assessments with each other so both parties are aware of each other's tasks, hazards, and controls. If you are unsure about how to complete a hazard assessment, talk to your supervisor. Emergency procedures. Every Traugott worksite will have a customized emergency response plan. This plan will be located on the safety wall, where you can find other important safety-related materials. When this orientation is over, the safety wall will be a part of your site tour. The site ERP will detail what to do in the event of a fire, severe weather, personal injury, underground utility contact, vehicle incidents, violence, and other various emergency situations. A list of emergency contact information with phone numbers will also be posted on the safety walls. Be sure to familiarize yourself with the location of all muster points, first aid stations, and emergency procedures. In the event of a site muster, you'll hear a long blast on the air horn. You must calmly safe out your work area, ensure all sources of ignition are turned off, and tools and materials are placed in a manner which doesn't create additional hazards. Take a quick moment to ensure these items have been addressed and head directly for the site muster point which is closest to you. If you hear 3 short blasts on an air horn, that means there has been an injury and we are summoning first aiders. If you have first aid training, follow the sound of the air horn to provide assistance. Traugott is required to run practice drills on a regular basis. If you hear the air horn, don't panic. We are most likely testing our emergency procedures.
The hierarchy of hazard controls. When completing documents such as hazard assessments, safe work practices, safe job procedures, or any document that's designed to control hazards in the workplace, you should always follow the hierarchy of hazard controls. The hierarchy is designed for us to choose the best possible control for the situation. It is a ranked system, listing the best to worst controls. You start with the best possible control, elimination or substitution of the hazard, then work down to the least effective control, which is PPE. The hierarchy works like this. 1. The best option is to eliminate or substitute the hazard. Is there a way to complete this task by removing the hazard altogether? Or perhaps there is a way to substitute the hazard for one that is less dangerous. 2. Engineered controls. Is there a way to isolate people from the hazard? Things like guardrails or lockout-tagout are great examples of engineered controls. 3. Administrative controls. Administrative controls establish procedures that reduce the duration, frequency, or intensity of exposure to hazards. Job rotation, rest breaks, training, and limiting exposure to hazardous areas are examples of administrative controls. 4. Personal protective equipment. PPE should always be your last choice. Once you have run down through the previous options on the hierarchy of hazard controls, you could consider using PPE.
Working alone. No person is to work alone unless a specific procedure has been written and signed by the safety manager, superintendent, and worker prior to any worker being permitted to work by themselves. Each instance of working alone is to be managed on a case-by-case basis. When a worker is alone, they open themselves up to additional risk. If there is a work-related or medical incident, the worker may not be able to contact emergency services themselves, so additional precautions must be taken. Usually this means the worker will be contacted on a regular frequency to ensure they are okay. Talk to the supervisor if you need help putting together a working alone plan. Safe work practices and safe job procedures. Safe work practices are a set of general guidelines outlined for a specific task. They don't focus on the procedural aspect of carrying out that task. They are more of a general list of things to do or not to do when carrying out that specific task on site. You'll find these in your company's safety manual. Traugott has also written safe work practices for the critical tasks our workers carry out. They can be found in our safety manual as well. These files make great content for safety meetings and are always being improved upon. If you think you can improve upon any procedure in our manual, please speak up. Traugott encourages open dialogue and you will be listened to. Safe job procedures differ from safe work practices in that they are a step-by-step set of instructions. They have been written in concert with workers, safety staff, and supervision. They focus on the step-by-step instructions that are required to be undertaken in order for a task to be carried out in a safe manner from start to finish. Workers are expected to follow these safe job procedures. Traugott has written safe job procedures for all critical tasks that our employees do on a regular basis. For a list of these safe job procedures, please check the safety manual found in the site trailer. Remember to only use tools in accordance with the procedures and practices in the manual and only for their intended purposes. Only operate tools that you are trained and authorized to use. Remember to remove from service any tools that are damaged, defective, or missing guards. Report to your supervisor immediately to have the tool repaired or replaced. Worksite hazard containment. If at any time you are creating an overhead hazard, or if you are creating other serious hazards such as excavations, you will be required to protect workers in the area by using danger tape, caution tape, signage, or other means of restricting or controlling access. Whenever a worker is controlling an area using danger or caution tape, it must also affix a tag to the tape. A tag must detail the hazard that lies beyond the tape, the name and contact information of the person who put the tape up, as well as the date the tape was put up. There are different rules for danger and caution tape. Workers can only cross danger tape with permission from the crew working beyond the tape. Also, danger tape can only be removed by the person who installed it. Caution tape, on the other hand, can be crossed once you identify the hazard beyond the tape and it is safe to cross. Failure to respect these restricted access areas is a serious safety violation and will lead to appropriate disciplinary action. Powered mobile equipment. Heavy equipment often limits operator visibility and hearing. Because of that and the severity of powered mobile equipment-related incidents, workers must always exercise caution while working around heavy equipment. Workers should always be cognizant of the swing radius and danger zones of excavators, cranes, man lifts, and other heavy equipment and must never enter that area. Remember to always make eye contact with equipment operators and receive acknowledgement from the operator before crossing into the path of a piece of equipment. No ground disturbance is to take place on any Traugott worksite until locates have been pulled for the job and underground utilities have been identified and marked. Housekeeping. Poor housekeeping creates a needless hazard and is a major contributor to incidents on construction sites. Do not ignore housekeeping hazards. Housekeeping is everybody's responsibility. Additionally, all contractors are contractually obligated to clean their workspaces on a daily basis. In the event our contractors are not keeping up with this obligation, they will be issued a cleanup directive and will be directed to immediately clean the area. If the area is not cleaned within the allotted time frame, we will have the area cleaned at the contractor's expense. Take personal accountability, don't allow waste to accumulate, and don't leave it for someone else to find and clean up. Remember to follow these general housekeeping rules at all times. Eliminate or control slippery conditions. Remove nails protruding from objects or bend them over. Clean as you work. Properly store, label, and contain hazardous materials. Properly cap rebar in areas where people are working. Put in an effort to neatly place all construction materials. Report all chemical releases and clean them appropriately. Walkways and exits must be kept clear of loose debris, equipment, and clutter. Report the discovery of any biological waste. Safety meetings. Regular safety meetings provide a sounding board for workers to discuss, learn, and communicate with each other strictly about safety-related items. Workers are encouraged to discuss concerns without fear of reprisal. Safety meetings must be conducted in 1-week minimum intervals for all Traugott and subcontractor crews on all work sites. Like hazard assessments, copies of the weekly safety meetings must be provided to the safety rep or superintendent. Traugott will also form a joint health and safety committee on work sites that are large enough to warrant them. Committee members from each contractor will be selected by their peers to attend these regular meetings. These committee members will act as safety ambassadors for their crews, bringing safety-related concerns back and forth from the meetings to their crews. The Joint Health and Safety Committee is a place where safety-related items will be tabled for discussion and amicable agreements will be made to assist our contractors in keeping a safe, healthy, and harmonized workspace. The Joint Health and Safety Committee will also be involved with ensuring that any requests from OH&S are dealt with, as well as being involved in site inspections and incident investigations as required. Environmental. Traugott Building Contractors has always been committed to carrying out environmental practices that align with not only governmental standards, but moral standards as well. We will always take the necessary precautions to ensure our impact on the surrounding environment is minimized as much as possible. All construction sites will take into consideration and plan the appropriate steps to protect the environment, including using containment bins for fuels, having all hazardous materials logged in the SDS binder, and ensuring erosion and sediment control procedures for the local jurisdictions are being met. We will also promptly clean and report to the appropriate government entity all chemical releases on our construction sites. Please remember to report all chemical releases to Traugott Supervision right away to prevent further damage to the environment. Traugott will also take every reasonable step to ensure that construction waste is recycled and reduced as much as possible. Disciplinary action. Traugott has adopted a progressive disciplinary policy to ensure that employees and subcontractors have the opportunity to correct any performance or behavioral problems that may arise. Typically, the first step is coaching. Workers will be given the opportunity to learn from their mistakes. If the issue persists, a verbal warning will be issued, then a written warning, then lastly, a 1 to 3 day suspension. However, in cases where workers are immediately endangering the life or safety of themselves or others, we may jump to any stage, including immediate and permanent dismissal from all Traugott worksites. With respects to other safety-related violations, such as fall protection, unauthorized use of powered mobile equipment, ignoring restricted access areas, entering confined spaces without authorization, failing to isolate energy sources, and other safety-related violations of that severity, superintendents or management can immediately remove you from site for disregarding these important life-saving practices and policies. Traugott will take whatever steps are necessary to ensure our worksites remain safe. Rules. Traugott has put together a set of worksite rules which must be abided by at all times. A copy of these rules can be found posted on all safety walls. 1. Any person entering a Traugott worksite shall wear the minimum PPE: hard hat, steel-toe boots, and a high-visibility vest at all times. 2. Obey all site signage at all times. 3. A site safety orientation is mandatory before commencing work. 4. Arrive at work fit for duty. People who have been identified as not fit for duty will be removed from site. 5. Horseplay, fighting, harassment, or other activities that endanger the health, safety, and well-being of workers will not be tolerated. 6. Smoking is permitted in the designated areas only. 7. Review SDS sheets prior to working with hazardous substances. 8. Hazard assessments must be completed daily before starting work. 9. No running on site unless there is an emergency. 10. Immediately endangering the life or safety of yourself or others will result in your immediate removal from the worksite and disciplinary action. 11. Respect the worksite and the facilities provided to you. 12. Failure to comply with local safety legislation or Traugott safety policy will result in disciplinary action. 13. Do not remove, displace, damage, or destroy any safeguard on site, including tool guards, guardrails, danger tape, or site signage. Permission may be granted by a Traugott supervisor to remove a guardrail, but additional controls must first be implemented. 14. Scaffolds must be erected according to manufacturer's specifications and be tagged and inspected in accordance with local legislation. 15. Ladders must be in good repair, secured at the top and bottom, extend 3 feet past the landing, and be installed at a 4:1 ratio. 16. Hot work and confined space work will not be carried out without a permit. 17. All visitors must sign in and out of offices and work sites. Following these key guidelines are paramount to the health and safety culture of our worksite. These policies, rules, procedures, and guidelines are conditional to your safety and the safety of others. In some instances, you may find that Traugott guidelines differ from the guidelines of our contractors or that of our clients. Whenever you encounter this, you must always go with the guidelines that hold the highest standard. Remember, you must always be in compliance with provincial OH and S standards at a minimum. Traugott policy, client policy, and contractor policy must always meet or exceed provincial guidelines as set out in OH and S law. Have a safe and productive workday.